Hello and welcome to a brand new video. It is Wednesday, which means, as I kind of went through the schedule already, today we are going to do a chatting session. I'm so excited to be able to do this once again and just sit back and talk to you guys. I think that's something that I really want to kind of utilize because it's great to be able to have that platform to be able to talk and talk freely. Like my podcast, Into the Abyss, which drops a brand new episode tomorrow, by the way. That's completely scripted. I'm not talking I'm not improvising. I'm not talking off the handle or anything. Everything on that podcast pretty much is scripted almost down to the letter. I mean, I'll improv a sentence or two once in a while, but for the most part, it's all scripted, so I don't feel I'm really going off the handle with it. And Quarantine Musings is great because the whole thing is pretty much improv. Like, I have a set idea of questions I want to ask about the topic that we're going to be discussing, but you never know where it's going to go, where the conversation's going to go, so I have to be kind of prepared for anything, and I talk off the handle as a result. So, I love that. But I think that's something I want to kind of utilize on my YouTube and even bring forward after quarantine is over, because I'm trying to find out what I want to do with this channel when this quarantine is over, when I go back to work and go back to all my other responsibilities. How do I proceed forward on YouTube at that point? How do I proceed forward as a content creator as a whole? Like, so I know at that point, Quarantine Musings will be gone. It's crazy to me that Quarantine Musings, which started a little bit of the way into this quarantine, this lockdown, it started a little of the way into it, and I am now on week 6. This is week 6 of episodes coming out. The episode that dropped this morning was episode 17. It's crazy to me that we're at that point already. When this originally started, I did not think that it would get to that point, that we would have 18 episodes, 6 weeks, and still be going and still be putting out a bunch of content. All of next week's episodes are already recorded. It's insane, you know? It's really, really insane. So, it's crazy to me that I've been able to put out and make as much creative content as I have been, because I do truly enjoy putting out this content for you guys and just working on all this different stuff. I mean, if I could make a career out of it and have it be my livelihood, I really would, just because I do love, this is a creative, all this stuff that I'm doing is a creative outlet. Like, podcasts have always been a creative outlet. It was my way of spinning off from doing radio, you know? Because for the longest time I was involved in internet radio, which one of my episodes of Quarantine Musings actually discussed radio with Cindy Kirshner, who owns Outbreak DJs Radio. I worked alongside with her for many, many years at Paradise Radio. I started off as a promo team member. I worked my way up to being the promo team manager, and was basically a station manager as well. Although I didn't handle quite as much as all the other station managers did, but I had my own team I was directly in charge of, and I kind of spun that into something else. I went off. I still kept doing Paradise Radio, but I started doing podcast work as well. I started off with the Average Joe Sportscast, which was basically just a panel talk. I don't know if I would really go that route again for a podcast. Ain't nothing against it, it just wasn't my style. There were too many hands in the pot, too many different voices trying to figure out how they wanted to do things, and it just didn't work for me. It was my first creation. It needed work. I wound up. They wanted to continue with it, but I didn't. So I handed over the project to them. It was Adriel Portes and Sam something. I can't remember his name offhand. Those were the guys that were running it with me. We had a couple people that would also appear, but they weren't in charge or anything. From there, I kind of took a little short break from podcasting, and then I took on it. This, so that happened in 2010. In 2012, I created the Mets Madness podcast with a guy named Brandon Butler. And that was a great experience. Like, he and I did that 2 seasons, plus we did a couple revivals, I believe. Either it was 1 or 2 seasons, but either way, it had a few revivals. We actually got to interview Frank Calinato, a former baseball player, actually played for the New York Mets at one point, which was a really great experience. It was my first big interview. I also interviewed people who were big shots at the time for reporting on the Mets. Like, I interviewed someone, I can't remember the name offhand, but it was someone from the Mets blog, and we got promoted on the Mets blog, which was one of the biggest sites for Mets news. It was sponsored by Verizon. It was sponsored by SNY, the TV channel that puts out Mets games. It was huge for us, especially because we were just starting out. We were relatively new to the podcast world. We didn't really know what we were doing. From there, I started Jets Flight Plan with Eric Garment, which it was a good experience. I took on a lot more work than I should have with that project. And that's nothing against Eric. Eric did a great job. Eric was very involved. But I put a lot of work onto myself that I could have asked Eric to take care of. And just eventually that wound up falling through. My heart wasn't in it by the end, to be completely honest. From there, I created On the Flip Side, which was originally on the Sports Jam Network. The Sports Jam Network, they're great guys. I love the people over there. I did that show with my best friend, Kenny Haas. And it was basically a debate show, a sports debate show. And we thoroughly enjoyed it. Or at least I did. I can't speak for how Kenny felt about it. But Kenny and I both put a lot of work into it. It was unfortunate that at one point the Sports Jam Network kind of kicked us off their network without any warning, just because they wanted to. Someone else wanted our time slot, and they didn't want to work anything around. I understand that we didn't have precedence or anything or seniority over any of the programs that were on that network, but there were things that could have been done. We could have had conversations or anything. They literally just said, "Hey, as of right now, you're no longer part of the network because we want someone else on. Someone else wants to do Fridays," and that's where my issue with that came in. I love doing the show. We actually did 1 or 2 more episodes as part of the Bob Sullivan Show network. But then I kind of shifted to a different show, which wound up being my favorite show. It was the most well-received show. It was the best in terms of numbers. So basically, I had been approached by the Go Radio Network, run by a guy named Big TJ. And they had been wanting me to create and put content onto their network for a little bit, a few months at least. And we were in talks of bringing on the flip side over to that network, and then we just decided to end on the flip side. So I proposed the idea of doing a faith-based show to them, something that Kathy, my co-host Kathy, aka Catherine Kalberg, wanted to do, and Big TJ loved the idea. We decided to go to the network and do it on the network. We did it live, and it was a very great experience. We got to do both live and recorded episodes within that network. Having it as a network allowed us to kind of have music, which was a great experience because it fueled one of our segments that I truly love, which kind of allowed us to analyze music and how it relates to faith. I mean, that show had by far the best listenership out of any show I've ever been a part of, and it easily, leaps and bounds, had better listener numbers than anything else on the Go Radio Network. Big TJ can back that up if you can find him, but I got to see the numbers. He got to see the numbers. He loved the numbers he was getting. He ultimately just chose to close down the network. He wanted to pursue other opportunities and everything, which I understand. That's great. He gave us a few weeks notice too, which is like, okay, great. We can kind of figure out where we're going to go from here. And then we went to recording for a while, and then just our schedules did not sync up anymore. Kathy and I would, if we were to receive a job to do that show and get paid to do it, and especially do it like on a regular basis, especially if we could make it our main jobs, I know I would do it in a heartbeat. Kathy would definitely consider it. I know she loves her current job, so I won't really go too far into whether or not she would actually accept another job offer. But we both would welcome an opportunity to be able to do Jesus Cafe Food for Thought again, if the opportunity that arose felt right and worked. Like, we don't want to do it just to do it we don't want to do it just to do it and not be able to commit the time and just have a regular schedules and everything on when episodes go out and all that. So it would have to be the right situation if we were going to address it again. I did a couple podcasts after that kind of never really got off the ground. I did Flix Watchers, which was about stuff that was on Netflix. I did Talk Nerdy to Me, which was about the nerd spectrum. And then I went into the Abyss. And I really like what I do with Into the Abyss. It's allowed me a political voice, something I've been trying to find for years upon years now. I mean, I've always had political feelings. I've had very strong feelings when it comes to politics, and I've always been looking for an outlet for that. I've done some of it here on YouTube. Like, I've done a couple political, especially right around the time Donald Trump got elected, went into office and everything. I put out some political videos, and I planned on doing a lot more that year that just never came to fruition. But Into the Abyss kind of allowed me that voice that I had been looking for. It was never intended to be just a solely political podcast, but that's a lot of what it became. And it's like, I don't know where Into the Abyss kind of fits anymore, because it became a lot of politics, but it's not a all political thing. Like, I did football in the last episode, and I'm just like, I don't know if this really fits anymore. I talk about mental health on tomorrow's episode, and I don't know if it really fits anymore. I don't know what to do with Into the Abyss. I don't know if I want to kind of work on creating a different podcast for after everything is said and done. Look into getting an actual co-host and producing a podcast that I can really be happy with and change what Into the Abyss is, I don't know where to go. Like, Quarantine Musings for sure. Quarantine Musings is gone after all this. It doesn't really have a place or serve a purpose at that point. In addition to me not being able to really have time for doing 3 episodes that a week. But once quarantine's over, Quarantine Musings is basically obsolete, you know? So that's gone. Then we look at live streaming. I'm having issues with live streaming at the time of this recording, so I don't know where we're going to go with live streaming. YouTube, I want to be able to put out some content. I don't know where I'll go with it. I don't know how often I'll put out content. I want to put out a decent amount of music stuff. I want to put out some of this stuff. I do like being able to talk off the cuff without a script and just say what's on my mind. So maybe that's what I do. I don't know if I really have the time to go put together and two, 3 videos a week, you know, when this all comes out, and make sure they all go live and everything. Keep an eye on content. I mean, ideally, I would love to be paid and be working full time as a content creator. That would be absolutely ideal, would make me so happy. I have a little home office that I'm working out of right now that I've set up during this quarantine. I would love to be able to make that my full-time office and kind of work off of my own schedule and have my job be to create content for the world, to try and kind of make things better for the world, create enjoyment for the world. And I don't know if you guys consider what I do enjoyable. I honestly don't know what you guys think. Please comment down below, let me know. I would love to, or message me, comment on any of my socials, let me know what you think of what I've been doing, what I'm going to try to do in the future. I mean, who knows? Maybe my stuff will start going off and I'll be able to really do stuff with what I do. Like, here's the thing, I do try to keep, this isn't because of YouTube's new rules or any of that, I've always been someone that tries to keep my content clean. Like, I've always done that, all my podcasts have been clean, like, all my YouTube videos I try to keep clean. My streams are a little different. I do drink on my streams. I do cuss if I get really pushed. But that's different than what I try to put out elsewhere. So live streaming is a different look to me. Hell, honestly, I think these videos of me talking are a different look into me and what I do. Hopefully you guys agree. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content I'm putting out. Please make sure to check out the rest of this week's videos. We're going to look and try and figure out what we're going to do next week. But for the rest of this week, we have tomorrow, we have a brand new video where I do a video singing one of my songs, Happy Endings. And on Friday, I'm going to be playing MLB 20 The Show, continuing on in my Road to the Show journey, which will be a lot of fun. It'll be great. Obviously, a brand new episode of Quarantine Musings dropped today. A brand new episode of Into the Abyss drops tomorrow. Brand new episode of Quarantine Musings on Friday. Both podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor. Please go check all that out. Follow me and like my stuff on all my socials. Comment. Subscribe to me here on YouTube. I'd love to hear more from you guys. Thank you. God bless.